Podcast number 2 is Parents' Rights and Role in the Special Education Process.
Okay, what does the Guide to Parents' Rights package entail?
So the Guide to Parents' Rights is, this packet has to be given to a parent every time there's an ETR meeting, anytime there's an IEP meeting. It outlines everything in special education for the parent. It lets them know all about the discipline that should be followed for students with disabilities. It outlines their due process rights. If they have a complaint, how they can file a complaint, how they can file a mediation. If it goes further, it outlines legal ramifications. It lets parents know that they are given the right to receive proper written notice anytime something happens with that student with a disability. So if you're changing the classroom setting for a student, we have this form that's called the prior written notice. Sometimes it's called the PRO1.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to go out to every parent every time you remove the student from a setting, or anytime there's an IEP meeting or an ETR meeting. That prior written notice is the most important document when it comes to a student with disabilities and changing something of their plan. If they don't get that PRO1, the school is then held liable for not following the guidelines that are outlined for parents. It outlines parents being able to ask questions. It also outlines how the special education process works from beginning to end. It's 35 pages long, but it's probably one of the most important documents that a parent can have with the IEP and the ETR. If they do not get a copy of that, they should ask for it.
Okay. So what's the parent's role in special education?
So by law, the parents are an equal member in that special education team. They should be there at the ETR meetings, the IEP meetings. They may not be an expert in special education, but they are an expert about their student.
Right.
They know that student just, if not just as much, if not better.
The teacher, right.
Yeah, so their input helps the team assess the appropriate plan for the IEP. They help with developing the skills and goals for the IEP. So as a parent, they have a right to participate at all special education meetings. And discipline meetings. If their child's being suspended, there needs to be a meeting. If their child's suspended too many times, there needs to be a manifestation meeting that just, talks about whether we need to amend the IEP so that we put more support in for that student so they're not being suspended as much. They also can agree and disagree with services. So if a teacher were to say this student is struggling, I want, to move forward with special education services, the parent has the right to refuse, and we let it go. Most times parents won't refuse because they realize that this is to help their student.
Mm-hmm.
They also realize that the IEP is not supposed to be a whole education career. It's supposed to be to help bring them back to grade level,
Right.
and remove them. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but that is always the goal of the IEP, is to remove, bring them back up to their level so they don't need that anymore, and giving them the skills to be able to do it themselves. Parents, if they want, they can also bring in advocates during a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
They need to alert the IEP team that they're doing that, but they have that right. There are also ways for them to contact people if they feel like their rights are being infringed on.